used to do a tune, this thing. Right? And this, you stand up at one of those tempos. So we came in, and I said, they said, would you run it down for the sound crew? Fine. So we went down. It was like about a 10-minute thing. Ran it down, went through it in the up-tempo. Said, fine. Would you do it once more for us, please? So, fine. Did it again. 3 times. Now Ray is looking at me funny, right? And we ended up doing 17 takes on that. Not takes, 17 rehearsals at it.
But not rehearsals for yourself?
No, not for us. And by the time, I finished the 17th playing for the cameras and so forth, I told the director, I said, I really don't want to play that tune tonight. It's true because, you get into a thing where the first time around you play it, and about the 4th time you're playing your solo and you might play. Or you might play something like this. Subconsciously you say, I made that pretty well. I just might play that tonight.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
not honest. But what's happening is, what's happening is that you're taking the easy way out, but you're getting bored. That's, in essence, is what is happening. So you're doing this. So you say to yourself, well, that's the easy way out. And before you know it, if you do it that night, you will play that, and you'll play it badly.
And you'll play it that way all the time after that.
That's right, and then you'll start looking, you'll wait for that part of the tune to come up to play that in. So you'll lose a lot of other lines just to get to that one line, which is not right,
I must say, television here is in England is marvelous for music of all kinds. I do a lot of classical music on television, and of course that kind of rehearsal doesn't really work. I mean, nobody's going to come and say, would you mind running the Mahler second for a few times while we get the lights straight? And 8 hours later they say yes. But I was really talking about in films, in movies, which are still...
it's been mistreated, terribly mistreated.
I tell you something, there was a film on television in the States not long ago, which was not only supposedly had jazz music in it, but it was about a jazz musician's life. And it was from a kind of a silly novel called, well, in the States it was called Young Man with a Horn. You can't call it that here, and I'll tell you later why not. But it was called, it was called A Young Man of Music. You with me? Right. And that was really hilarious, because Kirk Douglas played a trumpet player in that. Did you ever see that?
Yes.
Oh, too much. I mean, they would...
Can you imagine what would happen if they ever put together all those films with Steve Allen playing clarinet, Kirk Douglas playing trumpet, Sal Mineo playing drums?
Yes.
Can you imagine what that would look and sound like?
I've heard it, yes.
So then you have a very good idea of what would take place. If, in reality, there's no reason why you cannot stick to the musical story as closely as possible, because it is the artist's life, good, bad, or indifferent. If it's worthy of being a movie, then make it. If it's not, forget it. There's no use dumbing it up with all kinds of romanticism that didn't really take place. Most of the jazz stories, like the Billie Holiday story, is really they're really tragic stories. A lot of them are. I shouldn't say most. A lot of them are. So be it. That's the life of the artist. And most artists, as we were saying today, most jazz artists have had to pay their dues. I think I paid my dues by geographically being removed from the meccas like New York City, Chicago, Kansas City, LA. I was in Montreal, and we were record listeners and radio listeners. And it was an event to have a Duke Ellington come up or a Teddy Wilson. So I had to pay my dues and scuffling trying to put my things in order so that I could play. Well, that's all part of growing up musically. Yeah. And I think you should show this if if that's the artist's life, that's it.
Who's going to play you when they make a movie about you?
Roger Williams.
That's evil. That's really evil.
That's not evil.
That's funny. Play another one of your own tunes. I love
another
your
one
own
of mine?
tunes. Yeah, I like your own tunes.
See if I can remember it.
something that I miss very, very much. I mean, it makes me sound, I don't know, querulous and old, but I mean, something I miss now with the younger players is that kind of happiness that you have in playing, and the fact that you're just simply having a good time. I mean, I remember in the days when I was peripherally, at least, involved in jazz, we always had a marvelous time. And when we got through playing for the night, you know, for what we got paid to play, we would then go and play, right? And it was because we really loved it. And that's the kind of fun of it seems to be going. I mean, I even see it in sleeve notes, you know, record covers. I always fall for it. I always fall for it. No, but I mean, it promises so much more than intellectually necessary, really, you know. Because I read those record notes and I read something on the back of the album about what's inside, and I think, well, it's the key to the absolute. You know, it's the answer to everything. It's obviously the most staggering new thought in the world, and I fall for it every time. And I buy the record and I take it home and they're playing the blues, you know. It's not that interesting. But I don't know, why do you suppose people are so dead earnest now about playing instead of having a nice time the way we always do?
Well, I think that what has happened, really, Andre, is that, you know, the music, the so-called music of the day, or the pop music, changed a lot of it, a lot of thinking, and a lot of people felt they had to belong to this. A lot of young players, without realizing they were falling into the trap that they were not taking in the tremendous backlog of music or musicality that you need to be, let's say, a jazz pianist. I've played some of the rock tunes, very few, but I've played some. And, but I still had to play and wanted to play a lot of the other tunes that affected me. You know, music, there are only two kinds, good and bad. I think we agree on that. And because it's categorically, this may be rock, or this may be jazz, or this may be classical, it doesn't, you know, turn me off either way. Well, unless you develop with all of that backlog and storehouse of musical capability behind you, you're not going to grow but that big. So consequently, as you will find out, a lot of the rock players are now in jazz schools trying to recoup and get back into this thing.
Well, that's nice.
You know,
when you go around and play, are the audiences getting younger again?
you're very young. Very, or else I'm getting very old.
What do you call very young? I mean, you know.
14 and 15.
No kidding.
At concerts. We played a concert in Toronto recently. We had about close to 10,000 people, and there were youngsters, no more than 14 or 15, sitting
and they dug
3 or 4 feet away, just amazed at what we were doing.
Oh, that's nice. That's hopeful. I love that.
You know, I think that it's only natural, and good music is good music.
Yeah. Play something else.
When are you going to play? Aren't you?
Oh, I'm not going to be silly.
You're not going to play
something? No, just play something. I'm perfectly content.
I'll play a Hampton Hawes blues for you.
All right.